Hello and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here and this is the first video that you're seeing. My name is Lorena. I am a self-concept coach or mentor or guide, whatever word you want to use, and I'm here to help you change your state of being, change your identity, the way you see and perceive yourself, so you can create a reality that you cannot wait to wake up to every day. And today we're going to talk about the power of your imagination and how to really use your imagination effectively to create, design the reality that you wish to experience so you can actually make it happen. So we're getting dreamy today. We're going into the realm of manifestation today. So specifically, we're going to talk about why your imagination is so powerful, how you can use your imagination to manifest a different reality or to manifest a specific desire. And I'm also going to tell you some mistakes that people sometimes make when it comes to using their imagination. And at the end, I'm going to share with you how you can use your imagination in the most effective way, because it's such a beautiful process and it's not stressful at all. But before we get into it, if you end up enjoying this video, I would love it if you gave it a little like and you subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And maybe you also want to share it if you find it useful and you feel like somebody else can benefit from this. Right, so let's begin by speaking about why your imagination is such a powerful tool. And that's pretty simple because your imagination is literally what comes before the reality you experience. It's kind of like a preview to the reality that's coming, to the future that's coming. And if that sounds weird or abstract to you, think about it this way. Everything that exists around you was once imagined. Everything that exists around you only existed in imagination at some point, right? Like even the most basic things like the clothes you're wearing or the walls in your home. Everything first needed to be invented, and the source of that is imagination. So imagination comes first before anything else can come to fruition. And that's why it's such an important tool of yours, and we all have it. And it's something so beautiful that is given to us as humans, and it's time that we actually use it so it benefits us, because a lot of people use it to create their worst case scenarios, and we can also use it to create the best case scenarios. And it's not only about tangible things, tangible manifestations, but also the beliefs you have, the beliefs we collectively have as a society, morals and ethics that are embedded in our society, structures that exist in our society. Obviously, not all of them are great. We can argue that, but it first all existed in imagination, and it wouldn't exist today if not at least one person or collectively we wouldn't have imagined it first. So all of the manifestations, all of the tangible things, and even belief systems that we have collectively, so that are not individual or personal to you, that's basically just a collective agreement or multiple people or a lot of people who imagined the same thing, which made all of this, what exists now, come to fruition, which made it real. And I also want to refer you to a previous video, one of the first videos that I've ever made, which goes more into the nature of reality and how our reality is really based on perception, because perception and imagination are topics that are very intertwined. So if you haven't seen that yet, I suggest you check that out as well. I'm going to link it in the description below. But now let's talk about how we can actually use your imagination to consciously manifest a new future. Because as you know, everything that exists around you right now was first imagined. And that means it's all changeable by imagining something new. Obviously, this is a very simplified way of seeing it. And you know, some things will not change overnight, but it starts in imagination. And so through using your imagination effectively, you can actually manifest a completely different future for yourself that does not have to be the same as what you're seeing around you right now. So something that you can do, if you don't already do it, is to really get clear on the future that you want to experience and to start visualizing the reality of that. And this is not magic. This has nothing to do with, oh, I visualize it and then it's going to come true, or I'm going to say 100 affirmations and then it's going to come true. It's more about the fact that right now you're already visualizing a future. And most people visualize a future that is not too different from what they are experiencing right now, which means they are not using the full scope of their imagination. They're limiting themselves by restricting it to what is present right now, what's around them right now, and they're constantly imagining the same thing over and over and over again, and so not much changes. Or you may start visualizing, very often unconsciously, the worst case scenario rather than the best thing that could happen. And if you keep visualizing the worst case scenario, it doesn't mean it's all going to come true, and it doesn't mean that you can't have negative thoughts or you can't have anxious thoughts or anxious emotions or fears. That's not what it is. It's all very normal to have these kinds of thoughts. But what do you put your energy into? Do you make these negative thoughts or emotions bigger than they need to be? Do you give them the power over you, or do you choose to invest your energy into what you actually want to experience and want to create? So most people are kind of blocked when it comes to manifesting their desired future because they are blocked by what they are seeing around them. And a lot of this is often subconscious, which is why in my work with my clients, I incorporate a lot of subconscious mind work, subconscious reprogramming work, a lot of shadow work and shadow integration, which also works with the subconscious mind and the emotional landscape that you have within you. And I also do a lot of somatic work with my clients because a lot of these patterns live in your body. They don't just live in your mind. But then also some people just struggle to use their imagination in general. Even if there's not all of this subconscious stuff going on, like subconscious beliefs and patterns and beliefs about themselves and their identity, some people have more difficulty visualizing, for example, which is not a problem. I will say that. And I will speak more about how to practice using your imagination and how you can improve your imagination later on. But the more you can practice what you want, the more you can immerse yourself in your imagination into what you want to experience over what you're currently experiencing or what you don't want to experience, the more it will become natural to you. So by the way, I recommend doing this either in the morning or at night when your conscious mind isn't fully active yet, and I will speak about why that's important later on as well. But in the morning, it can also really set you up for your day and motivate you and give you inspiration and keep you focused on what you're intending to create. And at night, it can make you feel at ease, and it can also set you up for the next day, for the upcoming day. So let's talk a little bit about having clarity on your desires as well, because this is where people sometimes get tripped up when it comes to using their imagination, because you need to have a clear vision for your future. And this is actually why one of the first things that I do with my clients in my coaching program, Recreate Yourself, is to get really, really clear on where they are now and what they desire to experience instead. So we have a couple of weeks more actually dedicated to getting clarity, complete clarity on their state and their desires, because what I see more often than not is that people have a vague idea of what they want to experience, or they often even think they know what they want, but on a deeper level, there's a misalignment. They don't have a full clarity on their vision, and therefore they go back and forth, or they start doubting themselves more because deep within there is a lot of uncertainty and they don't really know whether they want what they think they want on a subconscious level. So that's why it's super important to first get clarity and develop a very clear vision. And when you have that clear vision, then you can really start working with your imagination and start committing to that reality fully, which, by the way, speaking about clarity and getting clarity on your desires, I did receive a request to create a video on this, which I'm very happy to do. As I said, it's a huge, huge topic and it requires a two-way street as well, which is why this is something that I work with clients. So if you're interested in working with me, you can check out my coaching program, Recreate Yourself, in the description box below, because there are some things that I can't just give you as a one-size-fits-all approach. I need to kind of know what you're working with and where you are, and I need to get to know you in order to help you with this. But that doesn't mean I cannot make an introductory video to give you at least a starting point on how to get clarity on your desires. So let me know if you'd like that. Leave me a comment if you'd like me to create a video on this. Another thing you can use your imagination for is your self-concept. And I have a few different videos on the whole self-concept topic, because obviously it's what the bulk of my work is focused on. It's not just focused on manifestation. Manifestation is more like a side effect of all of this, of changing your self-concept, changing your perception of yourself, and changing your identity, your ego identity, stepping into a new identity or a new version of yourself. So I'm going to link the playlist for that below as well. But basically, the way you see and perceive yourself impacts everything in your life. The way you see and perceive yourself impacts the way you show up around others. It impacts how you deal with relationships, what you allow in, what you don't allow in. It impacts your actions and behaviors. It's really who you are and how you show up. It's your state of being, essentially. It's how you are operating in the world. And that has a massive impact on the reality around you. So you can also use your imagination to tap into a different version of yourself, who you desire to be and how you desire to show up differently and how you desire to experience the world around you differently. And once you really begin to feel the reality of your imagined future, of your vision, then it will become natural to you. And when that happens, it becomes a lot more inevitable for you. A lot of people deal with fear of failure, fear of unpleasant emotions, fear of something going wrong. And honestly, that can all happen. But you are way more likely to believe in a new reality in the future that you want to manifest when it feels natural to you. That's when the fear of failure kind of either diminishes, it completely dissolves, or at least it goes a bit into the background. And of course, what also happens when you start feeling that the reality that you're envisioning is just inevitable or natural to you is that you start showing up differently. You automatically change your self-concept because you will start taking different actions. You will start seeing things differently, perceiving things differently. You will start treating the circumstances you're experiencing differently. And you might also just take more risks, bigger leaps of faith, things that you normally wouldn't do. Okay, let's get into what the biggest mistake is that I see people make when it comes to their imagination. There's a couple. Number one, they're too much up here. If you're just in the mind, especially in the conscious mind, you can easily get into overthinking mode. You start overanalyzing, am I doing this right? Do I have all the details? Am I specific enough? What if I think about something that I don't want to happen and then it happens and I'm doing it wrong? So if you're too much in the mind, you can overthink it, you can get insecure, and you cannot even use your imagination really because you're just overthinking it. Your mind is actually very limited. I know a lot of spiritual teachers, and especially teachers that work with manifestation, are very focused on the mind and very much ascribe a lot of power to the mind. And it's not necessarily false. It's not necessarily that I disagree with that. But we can also get too much caught up in the mind. Ultimately, your mind is not how you experience reality. Your mind is how you interpret reality. So it's only part of the story. And if you are too much in your mind, especially if you're too much in your conscious mind and you don't know how to work with your subconscious mind, meaning how to reprogram your subconscious, how to integrate your shadows, how to work with these different aspects of yourself, then you can very easily get into overthinking mode, which can cause anxiety. That's when people can get really frustrated or worry that they're doing something wrong or worry that they're manifesting something that they're fearful of. And it's also when people can keep themselves stuck or blocked from really moving forward. But despite the power of the mind, it's also that your mind is limited in a way because it's interpreting reality based on guesses from the past. So whatever you've experienced in the past or whatever you're experiencing at present, that's what your mind will start picturing again and again because it's simply easier. It works with the least amount of work possible. It wants to spend the least effort possible so it can make things easy for you. And in a way that's good, but on the other hand, it can keep your imagination a bit more limited than you'd like it to be because then you're not allowing yourself to expand your imagination and to really tap into new potentials and new futures because you're too much in what's known. The other mistake that I see people make when using their imagination is neglecting the inner work. And I know some people say you don't need to do inner work to manifest. And maybe you don't, right? You maybe don't need it to just get things, but that's not what I teach. I don't just teach manifesting and getting things. It's really only a side effect because you can receive everything you've ever wanted and still be miserable. And that's not what I want for you. I want this to be sustainable for you. I want you to feel amazing, whether you have what you want or you don't. I don't think it's a good idea to neglect the inner work. I think it's very important. And I also think if you don't do the inner work for more emotionally charged desires, you can actually really block yourself because you're not looking at these deeper unconscious patterns. To bring that back to the imagination, something that people sometimes do, which I see as a mistake, is to put too much power into the realm of the imagination. So they start thinking that it's some miracle tool that if I only imagine this often enough, then it's going to happen. But it's not as simple as that. You also need to start showing up differently, which can sometimes come naturally through your imagination, but other elements other than your imagination should not be neglected because you're just having part of the picture if you neglect other elements. But these are, of course, different topics anyway, so let's make sure you at least know how to use your imagination effectively and that you know how to hone in on your imagination and really start practicing visualizing better, expanding your imagination so you don't limit yourself, so you don't restrict yourself, and so you can actually create what you desire. And number one is use your intuition instead of just logic. And this goes back to what I explained earlier about the conscious mind sometimes getting into overthinking mode. So if we're too rational, too logical about the way we use our imagination, and if we stay too much up here, we're not leading from the heart and we're not leading from our soul and our intuition, we are more likely to spiral into anxiety and to question whether what we're doing is right or wrong. There is not really a right or wrong. It matters how it feels. It doesn't matter how it looks in your mind, really. Let your intuition lead and also go from the conscious mind to the subconscious mind. And most people really just use their imagination with their conscious mind, and that's why it doesn't feel real. That's why they don't feel it in their bodies. That's why nothing happens and nothing changes, because they don't know how to work with the subconscious mind. And that's another reason why I do a lot of subconscious mind work with my clients. It's why we use a lot of somatic practices, because the body matters as well. Ultimately, you want to feel in your body what you wish to experience, because that's how it feels real. And it's also why I love connecting people back to their inner truth rather than to somebody else's truth. Because once you're connected to your intuition, this becomes a lot easier because you can just let yourself be guided. You can just surrender to your imagination rather than try to control it. You'll actually be able to experience the expansiveness of it. You'll experience the unlimitedness of it rather than restricting yourself through your mind or through your conscious mind. At the end of the day, there is no one-size-fits-all approach to this. It's very individual because we're all different. We're all uniquely different. So you need to find your own inner center and your own inner truth. And I like doing this, or I also recommend doing this through, for example, meditation or getting still. And I have a meditation in Recreate Yourself that is it's so good. I do it myself every day, and it really guides you through a process of getting into the void, getting into stillness, and letting your intuition lead when you're imagining, so that you're actually experiencing your imagination in a really unlimited way rather than trying to control every aspect and accidentally dropping into overthinking. But if you're not in Recreate Yourself yet, or you're not ready for it yet, find a way to meditate, even if it's just focusing on your breath, and tap into your imagination in this way. This is a great starting point. And then point number 2 is to feel it in your body. I already touched on this. Ultimately, you don't just want to think about your desires, you actually want to feel the reality of it, because that's how you bring it into this tangible physical world. You don't want to just imagine it all day long. You actually want to experience what you desire, don't you? So you need to be able to feel it real. I use a lot of embodiment practices with my clients as well, because when we're visualizing with our body, it's very difficult to explain, but it happens very naturally when you're connected to your body and when you're very deeply in your body. And that's when you really start feeling what you're visualizing and not just seeing it as a movie in your mind. And it feels so amazing, and it feels so incredibly real that you cannot have it any differently than know it's going to happen, than fully believe in it. Number 3, use the senses that come to you most naturally. So sometimes I see people struggling to visualize. They can't see pictures in their mind, or they don't visualize clearly, or something else just comes more natural to them. Maybe they are better with hearing or feeling. Personally, I'm more of a feeling person, as you can tell. This is why I really work so much with the body, because when I feel it real, it's inevitable to me. When somebody just tells me, when I just hear words, it doesn't work for me. But maybe it does for you. Maybe for you, hearing is the better path. Maybe that's what's coming most natural to you. Or maybe it is actual visuals. Or maybe it's taste. Who knows? But whatever the sense is, or maybe it's multiple that come most natural to you, use that rather than trying to force something that doesn't feel natural to you. It doesn't matter if you don't see pictures in your mind. It doesn't need to be a movie. It doesn't need to be a specific way. You just need to be able to feel that it's real. And then what I also recommend you start doing, or you practice doing, and this might seem unrelated, but it's really not, is to get creative just in your day-to-day. As humans, we're all creative beings. And our world, our society is not really conducive to that, to be honest. We're very much pushed to be up here all the time, to think logically all the time, to get shit done all the time. But that means we're neglecting the more creative side of us. What is creative? Imagination is creative. Imagination is creative too. So the more you practice being creative in other ways, and that can be in whatever way you enjoy doing it. Maybe you enjoy painting, maybe you enjoy writing, maybe you love to sing, or you love to act, or play an instrument, or dance. Whatever it is, maybe it's something that I haven't even mentioned yet. Practice it, have fun with it, be playful with it. And this might not be directly related to imagination, but the more you create, the more you are allowing yourself to be creative, the more your mind will become more expansive and creative as well, which is ultimately what you want when you're using your imagination to manifest something. So I think that's all that I have for you for today. Comment below and let me know what your key takeaway is, what you enjoyed the most from this video. Don't forget to leave me a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And again, if you want to work with me, then check out my coaching program, Recreate Yourself, below, or send me a DM on Instagram. I would love to connect with you and see how I can support you. So have a wonderful week, and I'll see you in the next video.